Hola, minasan! Welcome back for another round of Kaiju number 8. Oh man, we've met a new kaiju, another humanoid kaiju, just like Kafka, and he just points at people and pop holes in their bodies. And he has infiltrated the cleanup crew that Kafka and Reno worked for. So now, as everybody's trying to recover, heal, figure out what the heck is going on, and get their bearings together. Um, yeah, this new kaiju is going to be a problem. So, let's find out what more is going on. And let's get reading. Kaiju number 8 by Naoya Matsumoto, Chapter 10. Last time on Kaiju number 8, despite an unforeseen incident, my workplace senpai, Kafka, got through the final leg of the exam. And it's all because you gave me that initial push. Thanks, Ichikawa. After watching him beat the odds, I could tell he'd grown more determined and confident as a result. This is so hopeless. I'm scared. Really scared. I'm absolutely terrified. Then again, maybe not. At the at the cleanup crew's workplace, uh, on the day of the exam results, Reno and Kafka freaking out at each other. This is all your fault, Kafka said. If you hadn't given me that initial push, I wouldn't be freaking out right now. You were literally taking me at the hospital. Senpai, what happened to the guy who had that big epiphany? I changed my mind. Hey, Kafka, Ichikawa, the boss said from behind the door. He opened it up and approached them holding two envelopes in hands. These came in for you too. They both looked at it. Sweat began pouring down their cheeks and and brows. They lowered their heads and stared at the envelopes, laughing right back at them. All right. We open on the count of 3. They they let out a gulp. Gulp. Take it or leave it. This is my last chance. Kafka thought to himself as he imagined himself standing beside Mina, dressed in their Eva suits, looking all hot and awesome in their JoJo poses. Whether my path leads to her side or not, all rides on this. Come on, lottery. Daddy needs a new pair of shoes. 1, 2. Crap, I failed. Well, that's it for the show, everybody. Meanwhile, back at the JKDF, um, uh, Kikoru stood before the captain with a big smile on her face as an announcement was made. We will now present the induction certificates. Passing with the highest marks, Mina said. Kikoru Shinomiya shall represent the latest cohort of inductees. Ah, yes, Captain, she replied, and she saluted to Mina as Mina presented her the award for her success in during the training session. As of today, all 27 of you are hereby members of the Defense Force. On behalf of all the 27 of us, I solemnly swear. Oh, to which then Kikoru replied, on behalf of all of us, 27 of us, I solemnly swear to lay my life down in the fight. You performed a great service in that the post that exam and center. As a result of your efforts, there were no fatalities. I extend my thanks more to you. And Kikoru eyes lit up, and she looked to the side with a little shred of shame. I didn't kill that thing, though, she thought to herself. Kafka Hibano. This thanks is meant for you, not me. She looked over in his direction, and he was nowhere to be found. So tell me, she said. She thought to herself, why aren't you here? And she looked at all the new recruits having been promoted to full officers. Not only did you save my life, she started gritting in sheer anger and her eyes starting to turn blood red. You had the audacity to worry about me too. She remembered him smiling at her. Glad you're safe. This is an insult, and I still need answers from you about that kaiju form. If you think I'll let you slip away, you better think again. And the door opened, and and Kafka slowly tiptoed his way in with his hand up, and rubbing the back of his head in a very sheepish manner. Pardon me for hopping in. And everybody looked in his direction, with a smile. Kikoru shocked. Mina still unimpressed by him. To which then Mina screamed out, Number 2032, Kafka Heben, you failed. Crap. Flashback to the beginning, to the meeting as they all determined to select the candidates for passing. Carmen and Derek last, one of the what are they called? Examinees said. In the physical, examine his zero and suit aptitude. Make for an open and shut case. I assume there are no objections, Captain. Mina remained silent. And then she had a reply. None that I can. And Vice President Hoshino raised his hand up and interrupted. All right then. Listen here, son. Allow me to explain. It's true that his grades are subpar and he failed to meet the bar as the exam officer, as you can see. But he really did shine during the combat field exam. He rubbed his chin. And best of all, he made for some excellent comic relief. I never had so much laughter in my entire life. I've been so busy shooting down kaiju, I never remembered how I smiled. I knew you'd say that. The glasses girl screamed at him, sending a shot across the boat of anger and frustration. Still, Hoshino said, I'm not sure if we'll ever promote him to a general officer, but I'll retrain him as a cadet in my platoon. You got my full responsibility here, and I'll make sure this boy is straight up and strapped up like a man. And suddenly the flashback ended with Kafka standing still, straight, sweating nervously in front of the doors as Mina stood with her hand on her hip. This man's being enrolled as a cadet, so I had him sit out the officer induction ceremony. To which Kikoru smiled with his smitten cat lips. That's more like it, Kafka Hibino. Dude, so he made it after all. Iharu thought to himself. Oh no, wait. I keep getting them mixed up. So he made it after all. Izumo said, albeit as a cadet. Dude, you mean that old dude made it? Iharu said, talk about an upset. Aoi replied. Mina, with the most devastating scowl in her eyes ever, stared right at Kafka's eyes, and his scowling eyes returned the favor. And they both suddenly ran across the room in full embrace and started kissing each other. Now that we have everyone assembled, Mina said, Captain Ashida. Oh, sorry. Now that the announcement was made, now that we have everyone assembled, Captain Ashida has a few words. And Mina stood before the podium and looked down at all the recruits, at every single one of them. All right, everyone, listening up. Kaiju emerged numbers and the fortitude levels continue to climb well above the average. Not to mention there was an inevitable case where Kaiju came back from the dead. Neutralizing the Kaijus fraught with mortal peril, but we must persist. Some of you may not make it back from your first mission alive. In fact, none of your lives are guaranteed. I can assure you will be either screaming in absolute pain as you feel the teeth gnashing at the body and your guts fall out. Some of you might even find yourselves falling to the ground and seeing the rest of your body being munched on by the kaiju. Some of you might even get lucky and find yourselves get flattened like a pancake and lay on the ground with your guts all spread out across the whole thing. There are also those who might spit acid at you and you'll be screaming in absolute terror as you melt away into a puddle of goo. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that out loud, was I? The entire academy started shivering in fear of everything she had just mentioned, and Kafka remained steadfast with a stoic face. Nonetheless, I ask that you lend me your lives, and I swear that I will be at the forefront acting as your shield and your spears against your threats. Even though lowered his head and tightened the grip of his fist, bulging out the veins, and he opened his mouth. Mina! He raised his fist up. You'll see soon enough. I'm coming to stand by your side. She was completely silent, shocked that he opened his mouth. Reno opened his mouth wide and a fly entered his mouth in horror, as did Kikoru, as did the whole entire crew. Everybody looked at him with open mouths and many flies flew into their throats. What's with this guy? Has he lost it? Oops. He realized he was completely isolated, all alone as everyone stepped back in horror and staring at him with anger. He just dressed Captain Ashura by her first name. And Mina took a long, deep breath. Kafka? Cadet Kafka Hibano. 100 push-ups for unauthorized outbursts and addressing the superior without a title. I didn't mean to say that out loud. That is all. She immediately turned around, not looking back, as Kafka began doing his push-ups. 1, 2, 3, 4. And Hoshino laughed out loud. Ha ha ha, boy. This is why I love you, son. You nailed it right off the bat. Stop calling me son. Wait. Yeah, keep calling me son. Make me feel young. Captain Ashura, aren't you going a little easy on her? And he watched her walk by very quickly, her hair flapping about in the wind. And he noticed a little something interesting on her face. Huh? Did I just see that young woman smile? That's a rarity. Well, wise captain, your little the comedy act is already doing wonders, the glasses girl said. And he smiled back. Oh yeah, sure is, ain't he? Just like I figured he would. He's a real stand-up comedian. That's why I love him so much. This job can get pretty dang grim, you know? I think he's just the guy we need around here. A little extra life, I have to say. Nothing but miserable faces I see, though, from the top brass and everything. At least here, we'll have a good old time. And that's the idea, he thought to himself. The part I'll say out loud, at least. He thought to himself as he watched Kafka continue doing push-ups. 20, 21, 22. And Hoshino started walking around him, making sure he completes his push-ups. We got an F9.8 reading out of nowhere when those kaiju were regenerating, he thought to himself. 9 out of 10 champions, it was a malfunction, but oddly, we happened to lose track of one person's vitals around the same time. And he looked down at Kafka. And that person being you, Hibano, as he watched him continuing the push-ups. 39, 40, 41. And Kafka continued thinking as he watched his cadet in action. His abnormally low suit aptitude aside, something feels off about this guy. So I'm going to keep close to him and find out exactly why this is. And he continued staring down at Kafka with deadly eyes, almost as if a sword just pierced into Kafka's back. To be continued. Kaiju number 8 by Naoya Matsumoto. Kaiju number 8 by Naoya Matsumoto, Chapter 11. It's been 2 months since the induction, and training and further training has been underway with all the officers and one cadet. They doing their target practices, understanding their weapons, what it could do, how much power and force it can do. And there was Reno, With his rifle in hand, he raised it up and leaned his eye into the sight. Arms in close, relax the wrist, he thought to himself. Place the reticle on your mark and don't pull the trigger. He looked at it and he ended up. He looked at the reticle, he aimed, and he thought to himself, squeeze it, squeeze! And a shot fired and hit the target. Squeeze! Another one struck the target. Squeeze! And the third one struck the final target. And once he lowered his gun, the announcement was made. Reno Ichikawa! The intercom screamed out. Live fire exercise complete. Time 2 minutes 35 seconds. Estimated unleashed combat power 18%. Reno thought to himself, we've spent every day undergoing rigorous training. Oh. And Hoshino, watching the distance, rubbed his chin. Oh, he's grown this much in such a short time. That young man is pretty impressive. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on him. Iharu thought to himself, that freaking Reno did another growth spurt. Dang it. And as he proceeded with his training, he received his results. Yaharu Furuhashi, 2 minutes 15 seconds. Estimated unleashed combat power 20%. He leaned right into Reno, face to face, towering over the young officer. There, I win, dude. Don't you get cocky, punk. Rest assured, I'm not. And that's when they suddenly heard the announcement. Kikoroshi no Mima! 1 minute, 16 seconds. Ultimate estimated unleashed combat power. And they looked in her direction. 55%! And she flicked her hair back with a sweet JoJo pose. Unleashing her inner Asuka. Oh, play nice now. Both of your scores combined are well in the mine anyway. She snickered at them as they both growled at her. Man, oh man. Izumo said, the more I improve, the more she reminds me of how mediocre I am. The ones on top aren't all you have to worry about, Aoi said. Haruichi, my combat power is on par with yours. He presented him with his time stamp and combat power. Iharu, Haruichi, Izumo, Izumo Haruichi. Izumo started rubbing the back of his head. Trouble from up and top and down below. Jeez, I swear. Don't worry, I'll be sure to surpass you when my time comes, Aoi. He pat Iharu. I'll get the names. Izumo, because they all got E in their names. Aoi, Izumo, Iharu. Ugh. Oh my gosh. Izumo said as he walked past Aoi. They both gave each other a glare, and everyone started glaring at each other. Reno and Izumu and Kikoru, and they all looked at each other like ready to beat each other up and everything, trying to be all hardcore and edgy and everything. And then the crowd went, ooh. Kafka Hibano, the announcement screamed out. 6 minutes, 39 seconds. Estimated unleashed combat power 1%. Oh, hell yeah. Kafka screamed out with with praise as he held onto a handgun and looked over in Kikoru's direction with a big smile on his face. She realized who he was looking at and started running away from him as he placed his hands on his hips and started prancing right at her. You see that, Kikoru? I finally turned my 0 into a 1. Oh yeah. How's that for you? Come on, give me props, yes. Why are you acting all smug? She started freaking out and running away. You're measly 1% barely compared to my 55. Get away from me. Get away from me. And Reno just watched on with the sweat drop hanging off the side of his cheek. Cap the young man. Yes, sir. At this pace, you'll never become a regular officer. In 3 months, you'll be out the door. What? Jeez, Gramps. Iharu said in disbelief as Reno smiled at his senpai. Alrighty, fools. 10 laps around the perimeter and we'll call it a day. And the crowd screamed out, what? Oh, back talk? Okay, then we're going to make that 15. You want to make it 20? Huh? Anybody want to make it 20? 20? Do I get a 20? Do I get a 20? Do I hear you once? Do I hear you twice? Sir, yes, sir. And 20 laps it is. Oh, no! And they all started running 20 laps around the whole entire perimeter, realizing they got caught. They got tricked. Glasses girl approached they have never given her name at all, have they? Glasses girl shows up and met up with Hoshino. These new recruits sure are making the sparks fly, aren't they? Oh yeah, I appreciate them. It seems like even when I'm not around, they are competing and boosting each other up. I gotta say, that's quite impressive. They're gonna be a fine group we've ever had since. Later in the day, in the bathhouse, God friggin' beat. Water was spread all across the floor, with buckets of water sitting on seats. Kafka laid back inside the pool with the picture drawing of Mount Fuji formed in the form of tiles, being covered by the steam. Kafka feeling all the muscles and all the bones being massaged by the heat of the hot water. Let out a great sigh. Oh man, the vice captain knows ending training with laps is brutal. Dude, your muscles still have ways to go, Reno. Iharu said, flexing his bulging muscles at at Reno in a show of contest as they sat before the mirrors with bottles of shampoo and soap. Reno looked in his direction, going, but they're pretty much the same as yours, Iharu. We're dead even on the fitness test too. Excuse me, dude. Try telling that to my biceps. They're quite lovely, you see. Biceps? They look like mounds of nothing to me. Well, now, Haruichi said, never thought Reno would be such a sore loser. You said it. Good grief. And Kafka stood up to his feet and flexed his muscles. Quit bickering over something so stupid, the both of you. Now check out this working adult's muscles. He flexed it even further, making every single inch show off pressed upon his skin. That ought to be enough to end this debate. Whoa, dude. The old dude shredded, and suddenly his gut stuck out. Aw, close but no cigar, dude. Can't even be in the defense force if you can't protect your waistline. Ha 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 ha. You're being rude, Iharu, Reno said as he shivered. Lousy punks. Kafka grimaced at Izumo, at Iharu. You better hope karma doesn't bite you in the butt when you hit 28. And I'll have you know I dropped a ton of weight. Forget my stomach. Let's settle this with an arm wrestling match. Oh, you're on, Gramps, dude. Yes. Fine by me. And suddenly, the door slid open. Aoi walked in, shredded up like a Twilight character. Vampire, wolf, your choice. As he took the first step into the door, you could almost hear every girl scream at his bazillion abs. What's with all the noise in here tonight? Aoi said, as he just casually walked right on in, catching the attention of Reno and Izumo and Iharu and Kafka. And as he slowly slid into the water, he noticed everyone was burying their faces down like giddy schoolgirls. What's the matter? Don't mind us scrawny boys, dude. We've clearly got a long way to go. Yeah, just a former JGSDF officer for you. Kafka remained absolute silence, hiding his pot belly in every way possible. Moments later, he laid back on the side of the bath and looked up at the ceiling, thinking to himself, it's been a while since I've done anything like this. This is very relaxing. Dude, yeah. Iharu planted a towel on his head. By the way, why'd y'all want to join the defenses? I'm very curious. The question caught everyone's attention, and they listened on as Iharu explained. For me, dudes, it's gotta be because of Captain Ashiro. She's been my idol ever since she saved me back when I was in middle school. He remembered in the flashback where he was completely injured from a kaiju attack, and Mina helped him out in her early days, getting out from the rubble and sent him to a rescue crew. He looked over at Aoi and Haruichi and asked, "How about you two dudes?" "I joined for family reasons," Haruichi replied. "But I guess we're on the same page overall. Captain Hashira is my goal." Likewise, Aoi said. "Comrades." Kafka leaned in close to Reno. "Wow, Mina's got some major clout, huh?" "Of course," Reno replied. "She is our generation's superhero after all." "Hey, old timer dude, let's hear it." Well, And after he explained everything, all of them screamed, "You're what?" And they leaned in. Izumo, Iharu, Aoi, all of them looking out at him, towering over him with pure anger as he slumped further into the water in absolute fear of them. You're Captain Ashiro's childhood friend?" Yes, I am." "And you both vowed to join the force? Dude, the classic promise from the past shtick." "Well, it's about time I hop out." And suddenly, just as he was halfway out of the water, Aoi and Haruichi immediately grabbed him by the shoulder. "Hold it," Haruichi said, and Kafka looked back very, very slowly. "Dude, you're not leaving till you give us all the details." Iharu said. "Okay, well, and he slipped right back into the water. Mina was born on a sunny day, which is good luck. She's loved dried cuttlefish ever since she was little. Really, comrade. And when she was in grade school, she used to take care of animals." "Ooh, tell us more." Moments later, Kikoru, with her friend, stepped out. With her blue-haired friend, stepped out out of the women's bath, all refreshed and full of smiles. "Ah, what a splendid bath!" she said. And she looked down and saw the men laying across the floor, with Reno fanning them to cool them down. They had the towels covering their faces, in addition to the towels were covering their heads, both heads, as Kikoru looked over at at one of the ladies and said, "Ah, did I stumble upon a crime scene?" Apparently they chatted in the bath too long and got lightheaded." She went over to Kafka and lifted a towel over that was over his head. "They said it was about Captain Ashino." She got up and looked the other way in absolute frustration. "Ah, I swear, boys are such morons." And she stomped away from them in absolute frustration. It is now nighttime and it is lights out. The only one still awake was Kafka as he sat in the library doing massive studies with books on the table and the computer by his side. He was taking notes in his during his studies as he let out a big yawn. And he thought, and he remembered what the vice captain said. In about 3 months, son, you'll be out the door. I'm running out of time. He thought to himself, I'm gonna have to work twice as hard as everyone else. Working hard, I see, son. He turned around, and Kafka screamed out, Vice Captain Oshina, as he looked at the vice captain, chilling out at the side of the door, with arms crossed and a big smile on his face. You realize that sleep is a part of the job too, you know? We can't have you nodding off in the middle of a kaiju fight. That's true. He said as he scratched the back of his head. I just can't afford to get cut from the force, sir. Is it because of Captain Ashiro, sir? Hassan? How did you know that? You said it yourself in the bathhouse. And Kafka went pure silent and froze in place. Just so you know, son, any conversation held in these dorms is all fair game. After all. Now that's just plain creepy. Look, I made a promise. I said I'd fight by her side. Oh, I see. Well, that's a good thing, son. Then I'll take it you're aiming to steal my spot as a vice captain? No, sir. I didn't intend to. No? Look, actually, I do intend to do just that, sir. Alright? Kafka stood before the Hoshina at attention and looked him right in the eyes. That really pissed off Hoshina's... it really pissed off Hoshina despite his happy smile. And he slapped the table, freaking out Kafka. Eek! Fine then, you're on, son. You got yourself 2 hours, that's it. Turn off the lights and lock up when you're done. You hear me? And he presented, and he left behind a key to the room. I'm not forking over my place by Captain Ashiro's side. You understand that, son? You understand that? Oh, I see. And he saluted the vice captain. Thank you, sir. Oh, and also, son, a word to the wise. You shouldn't get too buddy-buddy with your fellow officers. You see, in this line of work, anything could happen at any given moment. You were not here for her little commencement speech, but she did remind you all that you will get eaten and spit it out with acid and squished under her foot. Oh, right. And you're right. Well, that's the risk I'm gonna have to take. And suddenly there was a loud ring, and and Hoshina and Hibino looked up at the ceiling. Kaiju emergency! Kaiju emergency! The announcement screamed out as everyone woke up except for Iharu. All personnel, prepare to deploy immediately! It's a kaiju! Reno screamed out. Well now, speak of the devil, son. Let's get moving. Time for your first mission, cadet. And Kafka nodded. To be continued. Kaiju number 8 by Naoya Matsumoto. Trucks were deployed in a two-line formation across the street, making its way to their destination. They were listening as the trucks careened down at high speed in the night with their high beams on. They received the information from the voice speaker. Target's estimated size is 150 meters, giant class. It appeared in Sagamihara and is now slowly heading north. The Defense Force is currently proceeding with citizen evac and material support. The announcement said as each officer cocked their guns and loaded up and locked and loaded. And Kafka lifted his his gun up, his pistola.
Yo, brother.
The vice captain said.
It's Kaiju time, sons.
And he said to the entire crew as they sat with their he didn't even have his mask on. It's Kaiju slaying time, sons. The entire team sat as Hoshina smiled at them as they were all ready for their first mission. Kaiju number 8 by Naoya Matsumoto, Chapter 12. Kafka and Kikoru lifted their heads up and looked right each other in the eyes, almost as if they were ready to kiss each other by way of their masks. They flashed back all the way to a couple of days ago when they were in the cafe, and Kafka and Reno explained exactly what had happened to him that night in the hospital. Huh? You ate the kaiju and became one? She freaked out, and she immediately crossed her arms over her chest and leaned back, staring pure anger at him. Unbelievable. Poor people who'd eat anything. I didn't eat it because I wanted to. He leaned over the table. Can you two keep it down? We're trying not to let people hear this thing. Actually, I've been thinking of bringing it up to the defense force. They might be able to fix it. Kafka leaned back, stroking his chin, and Kikoto immediately replied, that won't be an option. Even if they don't dispose of you, they'll subject you to tests and experiments on a daily basis. Your career as a defense force officer would be over. And Kafka's face turned into a ghost as Reno leaned back, struggling to break free from Kafka's embrace. Also, I've heard that nearly all the powerful codename Kaiju are used as parts for special weapons. Worst case, you might suffer the same fate. Oh. And immediately leaned right into Kikoru's face with tears falling down his eyes. Kikoru, please, I beg of you, keep this a secret between us. Think of it as helping your elders. Ah, too close, too close, too close. Get away from me. You don't have any breath mints. Your mouth smells like fish. Fine. You saved... Fine. Okay. You saved me, so I will keep this a secret for the time being. But know this. She crossed her arms and looked him dead in the eyes with fierce anger. If it turns out you're just another kaiju out to harm humanity, then I will kill you. And Reno froze in place, knowing that she's not lying. And for a moment, they both stared at each other eye to eye. And Kafka let out a little smile. Sure thing. If it comes to that, I'll accept nothing less from you. And Kikoru thought to herself as they sat in the truck heading to their destination. You'd best not to disappoint me, Kafka Hibeno. She looked up right at him in the eyes, and he had the same look, and he returned the same look to her, understanding what she's thinking, what she's willing to do. Then his face turned into a big puffy cheek and ballooned up, looking like a sphincter. Whoa! Huh? Kikoru wondering what the heck is going on. Whoa! Vice Captain! Haruichi screamed out, Kafka's gonna hurl. I'm sorry, I was nervous, so I overate. That's when you're supposed to lose your appetite, not get hungry. Moments later, at the makeshift command center, there were helicopters sitting on top of the mall, ready to be deployed. Soldiers running all over the place, lining up. The supplies being the loadout being distributed. Camps and tents formed up and everything. It was the Defense Force Temporary Base 304 at Leon Mall Sagamihara branch parking lot. And Kafka and Reno looked out in horror. That thing is our target? It was a gigantic kaiju, but it wasn't just any ordinary giant kaiju. It was four-legged. It had the look of mushrooms with multiple eyes all over the place and sharp teeth. It slowly lumbered along across the city, knocking down buildings and just staring out at everybody. Hey, I just want to eat some people, the kaiju said. Can I have some people, please? I'm sure it'll all be tasty or something. And on the rooftops, all the officers, some masked, some unmasked, started loading up their weapons with magazines. With magazines, I got that right. And they were ready, and they were ready for their first set of orders. The announcement, the what you call that? The intercom blurted out. All 400 hours, commencing Sagamihara neutralization operation, Oshina platoon. Relaying operation now, Hoshina said over the intercom. Since emerging the Kanawa vault, it seems our target has been unmoved while maturing underground. Upon entering its breeding phase, it broke out onto the surface. It is now looking for people to eat. It said so itself. Ikaruga platoon. With Reno, the Sniffit, and and Haruichi, Iharu, right at the ready. They watched as the giant kaiju lumbered even further in. Smaller Honjus started cracking out of their shells. Captain Ashido is leading a unit of this, to dispose of the Hanju, leaving us to contend with the countless number of Yoju that being spawned. The Yoju started wandering around looking for more people to eat. These are all the neutralization zones in the area. I hope you're all ready for a good old crackdown. I wish you all happy hunting. Nakanoshima platoon where Aoi and Haruichi stood at the ready to take on the smaller ones. The kaiju neutralization points designated here are devoid of any important facilities or main traffic routes. Your jobs, if you should choose to accept it, ladies and gentlemen, is to dispose of the Yoju within the confines of these zones. This is a crucial task for our success or failures here will determine the scale of damage and ultimately dictate the amount of time and money spent on rebuilding. And keep in mind that this is not Sim City, ladies and gentlemen, so let us not destroy these buildings at all. People do need to live somewhere. And of course, the newbie platoons are being stationed at the tail end, but what that essentially means is you are our last line of defense. If we should fail, if you should hear us screaming in blood-curdling pain as our bodies melt into acid and squish under the foot of a giant kaiju, you will be the ones that's going to stop this whole thing and win for humanity. I hope you can handle the pressure. I know I can. Any questions? Yeah. Is it really painful when we die? Yes. It's very painful. It's very, very painful. Rena. Alright, alright. Your good marks on the training grounds won't mean squat when it comes to time to save lives. Oshina said, staring out out at the combat zone, and made a smile on his face. So, my fledgling officers, get out on that battlefield and show your stuff. Happy hunting. And everybody got the signal and screamed out in the air, "Oh!" And on that note, good luck. He pointed his fingers up, but with a proud smile. And Kafka heard Reno in the intercom. "This is it, isn't it, senpai?" And he replied to Reno, "Yeah." He thought to himself, at this pace, in 3 months, you'll be out the door. The Hoshina's words continued to echo in his head. If I don't prove myself here, I'm finished. And Kikudo looked right back at him. Tension, panic. I'm under all sorts of pressure. So why am I? He thought. He looked at his hand as he clenched it into a fist. As Kikudo was surprised at his statement. So freaking amped up right now. Yeah, this is awesome. And Reno was shocked, and he let out a light smile. Yeah, that makes sense. He thought to himself. This is the job you've always wanted, after all. Taking out the kaiju. All right. And then he spoke out loud to Kafka. Let's make sure our first mission is a success, senpai. And that's when they heard the announcement. Yoju spotted, entering point E. Echo. All officers in position. Engage and neutralize. They're here. Kikoru said. Let's hit. And he put then Kafka put on his mask.
Let's hit it, Kikoru.
And she smiled and put on her mask. And everyone jumped off the roofs like Marvel superheroes, while Kafka slowly climbed down like a DC superhero.
Oh, who said you could order me out? Don't die out there, Ichikawa.
He said to Reno on the intercom.
Sir to you, senpai.
And Kikoru immediately threw herself behind the barrier and aimed her rifle right at the kaiju.
Oh, here it comes, Kafka Hibara.
And there they all stared at the giant Honju, barreling down with a big smile on its face and a couple of pointed tendrils ready to swipe at them. Ooh, food, yummy! Kaiju number 8, episode 2, Sagimahara neutralization operation at daybreak. Why was that written on there? That's the next chapter. It hits October 8th, which sadly enough is not lined up with today's date. But it would have been awesome. To be continued. Kaiju number 8 by Naoya Matsumoto. Alright. This set of chapters, man. This was a pretty good set of chapters. This Kaiju number 8 really knows when to have a period of rest. You know what I'm saying? A break between the action and everything, but knows when to take the time to really work with the characters, especially with the main cast. You know, we got a lot of no-name characters running around. I'm still mad that Glasses Girls doesn't have a name yet. I'm kind of surprised. She's playing an important role here, and she should be named. I don't know if I missed her. I don't know. I have not come across her name throughout all this reading. Even when I was translating into English, the Japanese language copy, I hadn't come across her name on that either, and I'm kind of miffed. I'm kind of getting a little frustrated here on this. Oh no, it's the kaijus. The kaiju has fallen. But yeah, it's kind of frustrating. Should have had her name by now. I'm getting tired of calling her Glasses Girl. You know, if she's that important, we need that. But yeah, this whole entire chapter, we still get to see, which is cool. We still got to see Reno and Kafka still working at the cleanup crew place, I guess, you know, because they were still waiting, which makes sense. They were waiting for their results and everything, so they couldn't really just quit. But it looks like they'll be quitting that job, and we'll be seeing these guys again until that kaiju starts up. But yeah, it's pretty. Like I said, this was a pretty good chapter because it gave us, you know, more time with the characters to get to know them more, get their thoughts. We get to see Mina's reaction, which was pretty cute when Kafka, tiptoed in. You know, this was the commencement ceremony. Everybody but Kafka became officers. Kafka lucked out and became a cadet. So once again, taking a seinen in Kafka because he's in his 30s and turning him into a shonen protagonist is pretty interesting. That's a nice. That's really cool, and something really I should take note of for my book Trucker no Boken as I rewrite that. You know, because it's a bit on the seinen side more so than shonen. So you know. But yeah, they were ready to fail him because, you know, rightfully so. He had low power output and everything, which of course didn't make Mina very happy. But Hoshina backed him up and everything. I think there was a deviation. I'm not sure. I feel like there was a deviation between the manga and the anime. I think if I remember correctly, in the anime, during this scene, Hoshina pointed out, if I remember correctly, Hoshina pointed out during this meeting that there was more to being an officer than just pew pew and shooting down kaiju. He saw, you know, he talked about the value of Kafka's knowledge of the Oju, of the kaiju. I'm not sure if that happened yet or if that happens later. It might still be too soon. But I remember in the anime at some point he points out. Hibino's strength. Maybe it's still too soon. I don't know. It felt a little weird. It might still be too soon, but nevertheless, he backed him up, and you know he got at least he got in. So At the very least, we get a little moment here where Mina actually does let out a little smile in front of the vice captain, because at the very least, even if he doesn't, make it all the way to the top in terms of the thing, she's just happy that he got in there at all. You know what I'm saying? And that's pretty good. That's pretty cool. She's just happy that he got in there in some capacity. Doesn't even matter, how it is or what it is. Even though Kafka wants to fight alongside her, like physically fight Kaiju beside her, saying she's just happy that he got in like he said he would. That alone, I guess the minimum is more than enough for her. It's up to him if he wants more, if he really wants to, be by her side. But somebody tells me, even though we're still in the early stages, that she's satisfied. He got in like he said he would, And of course, she got Hoshina to thank for that one because, yeah, you see. But this also goes back to what I said in the last one, in the last set of chapters. Saying she is looking at these reports, so she knows that Kafka, has been working hard multiple times to break through, and he couldn't break through. He couldn't pass the physicals. Those were the ones that kept holding him back, and it got me wondering, saying, and I'm like, has she actually reached out and talked to him, or have they tried to reach out to each other? Could she have, could she have gone out of her way, saying whatever time she had to spare, go and meet up with him and be like, you're failing the physicals. Let me give you some regiments here. Saying, like there was a because I feel like her saying liar, in the first in the opening chapters, felt stupid. Honestly, it felt very stupid because it's showing here, and she's seen it for herself. Just look at the 3 dots she's got in the top right panel. She knows that he's been signing up. He's not breaking his promise at all. He has not been breaking his promise at all. He has been doing this multiple times throughout his adulthood, and he keeps failing that physical. And it's like, well, Mina, when are you gonna go up to him, meet him over at the cleanup crew and say, listen, you're having problems with physicals. Maybe you could try some of this out to make it work, so you could get in there. I mean, come on. This is not really very good. A very good piece of writing here. You know what I mean? This is unnecessary drama, honestly, and it makes Mina look really dumb, because she's not a dumb character. She's a very good character. She's a well-made character, and she would have been smart enough if she truly is the friend that she's supposed to be to Kafka, to have gone up to him and say, look, you're failing the physicals. This is the key problem. Let's see what it is that you're doing, and maybe we could fix it up. And then if Kafka kept screwing up the physicals or not following it, she can be justified in being angry. She could sit there and say, I have given you all these tips and regimens to help deal with the physicals. I can't give you the answers to the physicals, but I can give you, this little regimen to help your body, get toned up so you can do the physicals, but you're on your own on that from moving forward. You see what I'm saying? And then she could sit there and say, I've given you all these tips, all this advice to help you out. You're still failing. What is going on here? What are you doing wrong? You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And if Kafka's excuses are lame, then she could be justified in her anger, and her screaming out liar would be justified. But there's no indication that she's been helping him out or anything. She just gives him a glowing look and walk away. And I'm like, what kind of friend are you? This is the guy that's been supporting, backing you up and giving you emotional support since childhood. Your childhood friends and everything. You're like, big time friends here, and you don't have to, give him nepotism. You don't have to give him nepotism. Nobody's saying you got to give him nepotism, but if you really do care about this promise so much, you could at least, tell him what he's doing wrong in the physicals and give him some advice. Some tips, and if he doesn't take your advice and your tips and he continues to screw up, now you're justified in screaming out liar. Saying you get in his face and be like, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? You made a promise. You know what I mean? But because we're not getting any of that indication in the writing, it just makes her look, dumb and spoiled, and that's not fair to her. That's not fair to her. You know what I mean? because it makes it also trips up Kafka's characterization because he is being determined. You know what I'm saying? He has told Reno that he has done this multiple times and has always passed the first exam, but the second exam was the ones he's always failed with, and that was the physicals. You know what I mean? And I'm surprised that Reno didn't help him out on that one either. Seeing how he, saying it's because sometimes it could be the way you're exercising, how you're doing your regimen, how you're eating. When it comes to physicals, and sometimes somebody's gotta, and if you had a good friend, they would sit there and say, hey, look, you know what, this is not the right food you should be eating. This is not the right way you should be doing the exercise. This is why you're failing the physicals. If saying just that little phrase from Mina. From Reno, Kafka will be like, oh. Now, he doesn't have to be, he could still be 0%, no problem, he could still be 0%, you could still have him at 0%. But the point is in terms of the dialogue and the scenario, creation of the scenario, you don't want to make them look stupid. You don't want to make them look selfish or anything in a negative way. You want to make them look reasonable, like they're reasonable people. And that their feelings and how they're expressing it is reasonable. Should be able to line up. And this was a simple thing that could have lined up very easily. Where Mina is like, oh, he's failing the physicals again. What is he doing wrong? Maybe I should call up and find out what is it that he's doing. She doesn't have to pass him out of nepotism. You don't have to write that. You know what I mean? You don't have to write any of that. You know what I mean? But you could at least have her, show, being the friend that she's supposed to be, a little concern with Kafka. Maybe he might have a condition or something for all she knows. But instead, she's saying liar. You have her saying liar. A good friend would have been like, is there something wrong? Do you need to see a doctor? Maybe, saying maybe there's something, you know what I mean? That's what a good friend does, not say liar. And then giving scowling looks and walking away, You know what I mean? That's a disservice to Mina, having her say liar. If one little flashback, we have a flashback here. It's not impossible to do a flashback in this show. Clearly, it's not. There's nothing wrong with doing a flashback in this manga. Just one-page panel of her saying to Kafka, "You're failing the physicals. What are you doing wrong? Let me show me what you're doing. Maybe we could figure this out." And then he keeps on failing. Yeah, and then her frustration, and her saying liar would be justified because then we at least the reader know that she, that even she had been helping him out, and saying we'll never figure. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's the little things. Because characterization is very important, and you don't want characters to look stupid and dumb. They gotta come off looking rational and reasonable when they express their their emotions and they're doing their talking. I know it's not. I know a lot of you say, well, that's easy to say. Well, this is why we do rewrites. This is why we do rewrites a lot, and then you know what I mean. When we do outlines and everything, you know what I mean. Like this could have been easily fixed by inserting a whole page with a flashback panel and just insert it somewhere at some point. Say without compromising the whole thing. Without compromising the pacing of the drawings and everything. It could have worked out nicely. But that's something for all of us writers to try and keep in mind that if we're gonna have characters make promises, we gotta make sure promises to other characters. It's not so much that it needs to be fulfilled, but we gotta make sure that the recipient of the promise doesn't come out screaming liar without doing something first on their end. So yeah, training. We continue on now that they all became officers. We start seeing their improvements. I gotta try and get their names right. I keep mixing their names up. The problem is that they have too many I's in their names. Izumo, Iharu, Aoi. So it's kind of like throwing me off and everything a bit. Even though I put the description, so that way I know who's who. It's their names are thrown off and yeah, I'm interchanging a little too much, so I gotta be careful there. But yeah, we see the improvement. Reno went up to 18%, and And Iharu went up to 20%. Kikoru went above 55%, which is crazy. But yeah, our principal cast here are going up in stats, which is pretty cool. We're seeing some growth. Even Kafka, 1%. Good for you, Kafka. You made it to 1%. Now do your dance of joy on Kikuru. Put your hands on your hip and dance in joy right in front of Kikuru's face. It's these little things, you know what I'm saying? This is what makes Kaiju number 8 so fun. You know what I mean? They do have the hardline determination. I mean, just look it in their eyes. You know what I'm saying? But it knows not to be like whenever we see shows or read manga like this, you know what I'm saying, when you got the military crews and such like that, sometimes they could get a little too edgy and too hardcore. Like everybody's got to be all bluffed and mean and scowling, like all dark and edgy and moody and serious. But here with Kaiju number 8, you know what I'm saying, they're not being moody and anything. They're being competitive. They have conversations with each other, which is great. You know, they talk with each other and everything. And of course, Kafka, being the comedic spiel here, brings joy to Hoshina. And this is what I like about Hoshina. He acknowledges the fact that as goofy as Kafka is a breath of fresh air, because clearly they've been surrounded by too many soldiers. Who come in all dark and edgy, dark and brooding, too hardcore and everything, sticks up their butts, and saying they don't take the time to laugh or any of that. And then when the kaiju starts kicking in, the morale starts getting hurt and starts going low, and then you got Kafka here that keeps the morale up and everything. But the other thing too is the fact that he's still pushing hard, saying, and that's why they talk to him and everything. They're not. Which is what's so great about this. Most other shonen, seinen, when you have this type of character like Kafka with the weakness and everything, they mock him, they insult him, they poke fun at him, they see him as a nuisance and a burden. They don't see him like that. They actually show a level of respect, that he's pushing hard, that he's working hard, saying he's not letting the limitations. You know what I mean? They're watching him do all this. Even Kikoru, believe it or not, saying she could, even though she's, being all smug and everything, and she's poking fun at him, saying, and sometimes being condescending, but she doesn't demoralize him. She doesn't, saying, like, she doesn't demoralize him. She doesn't insult his intelligence. She's teasing him. She's mocking him. But the more determination it shows, the more she's like, yeah, okay, you're doing crazy things. Of course, it also helped that he revealed himself as a kaiju in front of her, so. But the thing is that she still sees him doing the human stuff. And so, that's why, her attitude is, changing slowly. Very cool seeing, not every day we get a story where we're focused on the men's bath. It's always the women's bath. It's always the girls' bath. You know what I'm saying? This was a good change of pace, and we get to see the insecurities, the male insecurities. Good job, Naoya Matsumoto-san. Good job, Matsumoto-san. This was a good change of pace with the bath scenes, and hilarious it was. It was all about the abs, the insecurity of the abs. Oh gosh, man, we got. We don't have these bazillion abs. And just like the women and the girls, when they're in the bathroom, they see, the big chests, they bury their faces. And we get the same thing too. It's a bare chest here, and they bury their faces in the water. That's a nice refreshing take. This needs to be done more too. You know what I'm saying? It can't just always be the females. It can't always be the females. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure a million young women and girls were screaming at those abs when Aoi stepped into that door. But yeah, But yeah, the secret was spilled out. Hibino is best friends with Mina, and that got all the guys wanting to know everything. And of course, Kikuru's like, boys. And the proper word to call them, boys. It's so hilarious. She's like, this is a crime scene. And then we have a nice, and we got a nice good moment between Kafka and Hoshina. This is pretty. This is pretty good. See, this is the thing that I like to see when it comes to teams like this and everything. He's not like putting him down or shaming him or anything. It's just he's talking to a subordinate, a cadet. You know what I'm saying, and just telling him, hey, you gotta sleep too. Sleep is just as important. Saying. He doesn't put him down. He doesn't insult him. You know what I'm saying? He's really appreciating what Kafka is doing, and putting in all this hard work. And he does see something, very something, something that's got him very suspicious, and that is that Kafka might be a kaiju. But nevertheless, he feels the competition. He feels the competition because he knows that that Kafka has a slight edge, being that he's very close to Mina, but he's not gonna lose his position to Kafka, and he's given at least that amount of respect to Kafka. It's like, I'm treating you as a rival. Even though I know you're not gonna get up there in the ranks, but you want to be by her side for whatever reason that may be, and I'm not gonna let you take my position. And good on Kafka, saying honesty, man. Good old honesty. He didn't push it, saying, he didn't like try to walk around, tiptoe around or anything. No, he just said it right to his face. I intend to take your position and fight by her side. and given what we've heard, was it Hoshina? Yeah, we saw Hoshina's backstory. So they both got the same goal with regards to with working with Mina, because she's top tier. Saying, but they got their reasons for doing it. With Hoshina, it's because Mina gave her a chance. With Kafka, it's because they're childhood friends. But because he wasn't given that chance, Hoshina, he understands Kafka's position of not being given a chance, and so he's giving Kafka a chance. It's a wonderful synergy. That's a wonderful synergy in writing there. Very rare you get to see that between characters with their motivations. Their motivations synergize like that, and it's really good. It's really good because Hoshina knows where Kafka is coming from in terms of struggling to break in and looking for opportunity, because he too struggled to break in and struggled for opportunity because all he could do is fight with a sword. He couldn't do it with a gun. And in Kafka's case, it's physical. Saying he's at 1% at this point now, and it's a uphill battle. But like he said, he told Kafka, listen, you got 3 months. If you don't show any sign of improvement, we got to cut you loose because you're a liability. And that's fair. It's fair. You can't have a slow 1% power soldier who can't improve upon himself. He's got to deliver something more to be able to keep stay in the game. And we'll be finding that out eventually. But we come to our last chapter in the group. The last chapter in the group where a giant kaiju has appeared. Lovely design here. Of course, we have our pre-mission fun moment as everybody sat ready, and here comes the blue with that little butthole face here. But here we get to see Kikoru, shedding off the arrogance. Saying she's like shedding off the arrogance. Like she's dropping the whole veil. She's dropping the pretense and everything. She learned the truth and she showed support. She showed support and said, "Look. Okay, you became a kaiju, although in a hilarious way. It's like, poor people will eat anything. That's funny, but given that he did save her life, she did agree. not to let it be known. And she did warn him what they will do if he goes out and tells them, which is great. That is great because he said, I've been thinking of bringing it up to the defense force. The correct thing to do, but she was being fair in warning him what would happen if he revealed it. And what they would do. And this is great. This is a great coverage. This is a great way to cover any fridge logic of why didn't Kafka explain it. We have the reason here. He actually spoke with Kikuru. Because her father is the top dog in the defense force, the Kaiju defense force. She did warn him what they would do to Kaiju, anybody who's a Kaiju, anything that is a Kaiju, and what they would do to them. She won't, saying she's not like against it. She's saying, she's not saying don't do it or anything. She's just saying it's not an option. That's available to you. Even though it is the correct thing, the option is just not available to you at the moment because of what they will do to you. And that is a great way to prevent that plot hole. Prevent the plot hole of why didn't he tell the defense force? They probably would have helped him. Well, now we know why, because Kikuru, who is the daughter of the top general, she knows what goes on there and warns him that they will turn him into a weapon or kill him off if they don't kill him off for being a kaiju. So Kafka's in a very, very, very bit of a bind here if he wants to do what he wants to do and accomplish what he wants to accomplish, and she's willing to support him, and that's actually excellent character growth. Saying this could have easily, from a writing perspective, have her go south. She could have gone south in this whole thing and be an arrogant little Asuka, but no, she took his rescue, him saving her, seriously as something that's owed, and this is something that she's paying the debt by, keeping the knowledge secret and letting him know that any idea he has to try to rectify it could backfire on him. And that first route, letting them know to see if he could get help, get some kind of help, because he was hoping he would get help from the Kaiju Defense Force to see if he could get it out. Unfortunately, that's not how they think. The top brass think. Something that Kafka didn't know, neither did Reno, and that's actually pretty good. Good plot hole cover right here. This is how you cover a plot hole. I want you to take a good look. This is a there's a hole here that is a plot, and this is not a cover. This is concrete. This is concrete being poured into the hole and smoothed out. So now none of us can question why Kafka has not addressed this to them, because Kikuru, whose father is in the top is the top general, warned them of what they will do to him. And warned him what we do. Good job. That's good writing. That's the way you gotta write. You gotta make sure you watch out for your plot holes and make sure you fill them up with concrete so that nobody can chip away at it and try to say, "Oh, look, terrible writing." Don't do mud. People will dig mud. People will dig dirt on the plot hole. Make it concrete, nice solid concrete. That'll force people to take a pickaxe or a jackhammer, and that'll be them overreaching on their theories. I love this is a fun design for the giant kaiju here, looking like a giant mushroom with multiple eyes on each mushroom, with weird tendrils along the feet. The scale is wonderful, very well done. You know what I mean? I love when mangaka can pull off scale like this. Saying with the giant size in relation to the actual size. Keep in mind that this is a building. If you look here, even though it's not a human being, even though that's not a person standing on that roof, this little black sticks here. If you think of it as a human size, right here in the middle, dead center on the top of this roof here, in relation to the water tower on the right, in relation to the building, the giant building that it's standing on, in relation to the kaiju. That's how big that is. When you get pulling off scales like that is just very impressive, and scared the living Jesus out of Reno and Kafka, as you can see down here. Yes, that is your target, Reno. And of course we get the mission here, the task. Don't let the city get destroyed. People have been evacuated, so civilians are safe, so they could go to town. But let's keep the collateral damage of public buildings to a minimum. And very wonderful words of encouragement by Hoshina, ultimately. And man, this is what we need to see more of. This is what makes Kaiju number 8 so great. There's no moody characters. There's no Sasuke's. There's no Shinji's. There's no Shinji's. Subverted Asukas. You know what I'm saying? This whole mood and thing, like, oh, I can't do anything, or I'm brooding and mooding because people are mean to me. I'm glad it is not in this. I'm so happy it's not in this. Just look at how hype our protagonist is, man. Look at Kafka. My man is like, yes, I'm gonna kill some kaiju. Awesome. My man is like, awesome. And Reno, who we were introduced as potentially the Sasuke, look at the smile on his face and cheer Kafka on. He's like, let's make our first mission a success. And Kikoru, look at Kikoru, man. She's looking at Kafka with a smile, like, yeah, I know you got my back. It's like, yeah, that's my teammate. This is solid writing. We don't need teammate conflicts every single time. This, you know what I'm saying? I understand that there might be some compelling stuff and everything, you know what I'm saying? But it doesn't need to be that way, especially when it's forced. It doesn't need to be forced. Look how nice and fluid that flowed. Look how well that flowed, man. This whole entire sequence of panels here flowed nicely, you know? Float very nicely. Everybody's like got confidence. You know, they're looking at each other with confidence, not disdain, not with brooding faces. You know what I'm saying? There's some that could really pull off brooding and everything to a T. And I could think of one, and the one I think of is my man in Chainsaw Man. My man in Chainsaw Man. He's very brooding, but he still has a lighthearted sense and everything, even though he's grounded in realism. But then you get some of those that are just trying to be all edgy and hardcore about their broodiness, and it's like, stop it. Okay, get over yourself. You know. When you know what I'm saying, when you find yourself saying get over yourself to the character is badly written. And here we got three characters who are just brimming with confidence. You know, one overconfident, one underconfident, one properly confident. You know, saying knowing that they're gonna do awesome stuff. You know what I'm saying? And look at that. Look at the smile on Kafka's face. He's like, yes. He's not sitting there like, oh my gosh, will my power level screw me out? No. He's like, yes, I'm gonna get some kaiju. That's a character, man. This is why Kaiju number 8 is fun. This is what makes Kaiju number 8 fun. When you have characters that really enjoy it, even though Kafka is not pulling off a superhero jump. Even though he's not doing a superhero jump. And looking all hardcore and cool and everything. Oh man, another set of good chapters here. Kaiju number 8 is definitely a solid series. I wish this had katakana and hiragana attached to the kanji. Translating all this kanji took me nearly 2 months just for this thing. You know, it's not like Sakamoto Days or Chainsaw Man where it's got furigana next to the kanji for me to read through, so that way I can get to it. So, you know, I'm not exactly ahead of the game like I wanted to, because this is a really awesome story. I really like it. But yeah. Oh man, Kaiju number 8. It's definitely worth the read. And I'm only at chapter 12. We still got ways to go till we complete season 1. Catch up with season 1 anime. So comment, like, subscribe, follow. You know you want to, and head on over to Amazon.com and grab yourself a copy of The Impossible Man, a strange fantasy novel written by me. You'll find the link in the description down below, along with links to other merch such as pins, I keep saying needles. Pins and needles. Pins, stickers, t-shirts, music, Please enjoy the merch. Thank you for your patronage. And if you're interested, you can join me on my live multi-stream on Twitch and Kick every Monday through Thursday, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if you want to see all this in the raw and then behind-the-scenes stuff and so on, and other fun things like video games and Japanese lessons. So there we go. Until the next set of chapters, thank you all for joining me, and I wish you all a good night, buenas noches, and oyasumi nasai.